I want to start off this talk with a beginning, obviously. But what I want to say is, I want you to know that I absolutely believe that we are in a time of great awakening and shifting and evolution, if we choose to be so. And I think we do. And I think as a collective of human beings on planet Earth, we're either walking into it with arms open and saying, yes, here we are, we can do this, or we're resisting and we're kicking and struggling. And we get to choose which way we are going to do it. But nevertheless, we're in one of those times on planet Earth. And we're always shifting and changing and hopefully evolving. And remember, I've talked about spiral dynamics, that we're always spiraling higher. And in that spiral, there's always a little lowering before you go higher again. That's always happening. And oh my goodness, it feels like we're on, I don't even know what word to put to it. We'll just say, oh my goodness. And it's one of those times where buckle up, stay prayed up, and listen and do what is yours to do. So I wanted to start out with that I absolutely believe that we are in that time of wonderful love and great opportunity where the rocks are being pulled up to expose the slugs. So that's probably all I need to say about that. Let me change my slide. So with that, I want to share a story. And you know me, I love stories. I'm a storyteller. I probably bored or freaked out or bored this week with one of my stories that I probably could have summed up with 3 or 4 sentences, but I was in my story. This is called the rucksack. I locked the classroom door. The metal click echoed like in a sudden silence. I turned to the 25 high school seniors staring at me. They are the class of 2026. They were supposed to be the Zoomers, the digital natives, the generation that had everything figured out. But from where I stood, looking at their faces, illuminated by the blue light of hidden phones, they just looked tired. Put the phones away, I said. My voice was quiet, but they heard it. Turn them off, not silent, off. There was a grumble. A collective shifting of bodies in plastic chairs, but they did it. For 30 years, I have taught history in this gritty working class town in Pennsylvania. I've watched the factories close. I've watched the opioids creep in like a fog. I've watched the arguments at home turn into wars on the news. On my desk sat an old olive green military rucksack that belonged to my father. It smelled like gasoline and old canvas. It's stained and it's ugly. For the first month of school, the students ignored it. They just thought it was Mr. Miller's junk. They didn't know it was the heaviest thing in the entire building. This year's class was brittle. That's the only word for it. You had the football players who walked with a swagger that looked practiced. You had the theater kids who were too loud, trying to drown out the silence. You had the quiet ones who wore hoodies in September, trying to disappear into the drywall. The air in the room was thick, not with hate, but with exhaustion. They were 18 years old and they were already done. I'm not teaching the Constitution today, I said, dragging the heavy rucksack to the center of the room. I dropped it on a stool. Thud. The sound made a girl in the front row flinch. We're going to do something different, I said, and I passed out plain white index cards. I walked the rows, placing a card on each desk. I have 3 rules. If you break them, you leave. Rule number 1, do not write your name. This is totally anonymous, completely. Rule 2, total honesty. No jokes, no memes. Rule 3, write down the heaviest thing that you're carrying. A hand went up. It was Marcus, the defensive captain of the football team, a giant of a kid, usually cracking jokes. He looked confused. What do you mean carrying like books? I leaned back against the whiteboard. No, Marcus, I mean the thing that keeps you awake at 3 a.m. The secret you are terrified to say out loud because you think people will judge you. The fear, the pressure, the weight on your chest. I looked him in the eyes. We call this the rucksack. What goes in the bag stays in the bag. The room went tomb silent. The air conditioning hummed. For 5 minutes, nobody moved. They looked at each other, waiting for the first person. Then a girl in the back, Sarah, straight A student, perfect hair, picked up her pen. She wrote furiously. Then another, then another. Marcus, the football player, stared at the blank white card for a long time, his jaw tight. He looked angry. Then he hunched over, shielding his paper with his massive arm, and wrote 3 words. When they were done, they walked up one by one, folded the cards, and dropped them into the mouth of the rucksack. It was like a ritual, a silent confession. I zipped the bag shut. The sound was sharp. This, I said, resting my hand on the faded canvas, this is the room. You look at each other and you see jerseys or makeup or grades. But this bag, this is who you actually are. I took a deep breath. My own heart was hammering. I'm going to read these out loud, I said. And your job, your only job, is to listen. No laughing, no whispering, no glancing at your neighbor to guess who wrote it. We just hold the weight together. I opened the bag, reached in and pulled the first card. The handwriting was jagged. My dad lost his job at the plant 6 months ago. He puts on a suit every morning and leaves so the neighbors don't know. He sits in his car at the park all day. I know he's crying. I'm scared we're going to lose the house. The next one. I carry Narcan in my backpack, not for me, for my mom. I found her blue on the bathroom floor last Tuesday. I saved her life, and then I came to school and took a math test. I'm so tired. I paused. I looked up. Nobody was looking at their phones. No one was sleeping. They were staring at the bag. I pulled another. I check the exits every time I walk into any building, the school, a movie theater, a grocery store. I map out where I would hide if a shooter came in. I'm 18 and I plan my own death every day. My parents hate each other because of politics. They scream at the TV every night. My dad says people who vote for the other side are evil. He doesn't know that I agree with the other side. I feel like a spy in my own kitchen. Another, I have 10,000 followers on TikTok. I post videos of my perfect life. Last night I sat in the shower with water running so my little brother wouldn't hear me sobbing. I am more lonely than I have ever been. For 20 minutes, he kept reading. I'm gay. My grandfather is a pastor. He told me last Sunday that those people are broken. I love him, but I think he hates me, and he doesn't even know it's me. We pretend the Wi-Fi is down, but I know Mom couldn't pay the bill again. I eat the free lunch at school because there's nothing in the fridge. I don't want to go to college. I want to be a mechanic, but my parents have a bumper sticker on their car that says, "Proud college parent." I feel like I'm already a disappointment. And finally, the last one, the one that made the air leave the room. I don't want to be here anymore. The noise is too loud, the pressure too heavy. I'm just waiting for a sign to stay. I folded the card slowly. I placed it gently back in the bag. I looked up. Marcus, the tough linebacker, had his head in his hands. His shoulders were shaking. He wasn't hiding it. Sarah, the girl with the perfect grades, was reaching across the aisle, holding the hand of a boy who wore black eyeliner and usually sat alone. He was gripping her hand like a lifeline. The barriers were gone, the cliques were dissolved. They weren't jocks or nerds or liberals or conservatives, they were just kids. Kids walking through a storm without an umbrella. So I said, this is what we carry. I zipped the bag, the sound was final. I'm hanging this bag on the wall. It stays here. You don't have to carry it alone anymore, not in here. In this room, we're a team. The bell rang. Usually it triggers a stampede. Today no one moved. Slowly, quietly, they began to pack up their things, and then something happened I'll never forget. As Marcus walked past the stool, he didn't just walk by, he stopped. He reached out and patted the rucksack. 2 gentle thumbs. I got you. Then the next student. She rested her palm on the strap for a second. Every single student touched the bag on their way out. They were acknowledging the way they were saying, I see you. I've taught American history for 3 decades. I've lectured on Civil War, the Great Depression, Civil Rights Movement, but that hour was the most important lesson I ever taught. We live in a country obsessed with winning, with looking strong, with the highlight reel we post on social media. We are terrified of our own cracks. And our kids, they are paying the price. They are drowning in silence right next to each other. That evening, I received an email. The subject line was blank. Mr. Miller, my son came home today and hugged me. He hasn't hugged me since he was 12. He told me about the bag. He said he felt real for the first time in high school. He told me he was struggling. We're going to get help. Thank you. The green rucksack is still on my wall. It looks like garbage to anyone who walks in, but to us, it's a monument. I couldn't track the author exactly of this story, whether it's a story that is true or written, but it's true, right? We know this for ourselves. We know this for our children. And we have a responsibility for ourselves and for our children to step up higher, to let go of anything that we may be carrying that is adding to the chaos. Now, you know, I say every single week, every time, that we are going to feel the feelings. We are going to experience the emotions of what is going on. We're going to add to the energy that is being vibrated across the universe. Every single person is affected. And sometimes we just need to stop and curl up and scream and cry or take a nap and let someone else carry the ball for us. And then we pick it back up again and we carry the light because we know the truth. We know the truth. One presence, one power, one life, one love. The Jesus that we teach in Unity is the Jesus of social justice. In my understanding, that man would not be okay with having his name used the way it is used by so many in our country and our world at this time. Just take a breath. There are so many things that I want to come and stand here before you and proclaim truth around, and we just don't have time in a 20-minute talk on Sunday morning, but you know where my heart is with human trafficking, with sexual abuse. The list goes on in my head. I come and I peel back the curtain to acknowledge the pain, for it is in releasing the infection that we are healed. And so we want to rise up. 1 Corinthians 12:26, if one member suffers, all suffer together with it. That is so important for us to remember. If there is one presence and one power, and we are part of that one presence and one power, then, as we say all the time, who we are truly does make a difference. Now, some of us are able to hold the light higher and not get down into the trenches. Some of us walk the middle road. Others of us get more down in the trenches. We're at all different places in our movement and our evolution all the time. And it's so important that we do our work and not judge others for where they are and how they are carrying their life. But to be there for each person. To walk out of that room and tap that rucksack and know that we are all here together as one body and one light. And life is love. And we see that in so many places. I don't want to just dwell on the darkness of it. There's so much love and light of people coming together. Don't you see it? Oh my gosh. We're being called higher. There is truly a transformation going on. We just get to ride the roller coaster while it's moving along, and sometimes it's not as much fun. Bessel van der Kolk, modern neuroscience now confirms what metaphysics has long taught. Unexpressed fear lodges in the nervous system. The body keeps score. If the memory of trauma is encoded in the viscera, in heartbreaking and gut-wrenching sensations, in pounding hearts and shallow breathing, then it stands to reason that the healing must involve the body. That's why we do our prayer and meditation. That's why we do our visioning. That's why we hold affirmations. That's why we do our breath work. That's why we sit in the silence and find that calm, beautiful place where we come back to our center and we are cleansed. I don't know if any of you, I know some of you do, but do a clearing process of just clearing the energy around you, just psychically, vibrationally clearing the energy around you. I can't even think of it at the moment. But I clear and I cloak my body in pure light, and I ground myself to planet Earth. And I focus on my clearing and my healing and my protection, so that I'm not letting the energy come into me that I don't want. Find your practice, whatever it may be, in music, in art, in writing, in being outside in nature, being with like-minded people. I know I'm always talking to the choir, but maybe we need to rev it up a little bit, you know? Stephen Porges, I think, I didn't look up how to pronounce his last name. The nervous system does not know the difference between an actual threat and a perceived one. So be careful what you're taking in. I am one that will go to the last chapter of a book to read how it ended so I can go back and read the book in a relaxed way. I will fast forward to the end of a movie so I can see the ending of the movie. So only if it gets too anxious for me, because I'm aware of my nervous system. And then I can go back and watch it and just enjoy it and enjoy the story. Now, I don't do it all the time, but I do it. Find your way to make it work, because the nervous system doesn't know. Why do I want to add more angst? You know, turn off the TV and turn on music. Spirit is not separate from the body. When we calm the body, the soul can speak. And from Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am God. We are not alone individually. We are not alone collectively. We are not alone universally. And there is always more love than there is darkness. And so it is.